question, who can save man from sin? That's a very, very good question.
Only the promised offspring is able to defeat the power of sin. The Holy Scriptures tell us in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9.
The human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. Who really knows how bad it is?
Now, I am lost. Kabisa. God's presence has left the temple. The temple is destroyed. God's people have been carried away to a faraway country. Yamani. Will the promised offspring ever come? Kiukwela.
Yes, he will. God is not a man that he should lie. God is faithful. He always keeps all his promises. And his plans, they can never, ever be defeated.
Well, that is true. But it must have been very difficult for the people of God to keep believing and waiting when the promised offspring seemed to be taking too long to come.
Indeed, it was. It was a long wait. But you know what? God did not leave them as orphans. He did not leave them without hope. No. He sent his prophets to bring them and to constantly encourage them with a message of hope.
Prophets, the people chosen by God to deliver his messages.
Yes, God gave the prophets more and more clues so that the people would be able to know who the promised offspring was. For example, he told Prophet Isaiah that the promised offspring, or Messiah, would be born by a virgin. He told Prophet Micah where the promised offspring would be born. He reminded Prophet Isaiah and Jeremiah that the promised offspring, or Messiah, would be a descendant of Judah and David. God is all-knowing. He told the prophets things that human beings would never know unless he revealed it to them. The prophets kept referring to the promised offspring as Messiah. Messiah means chosen one or the anointed one.
Messiah. So, the promised offspring is also called Messiah.
Interestingly, even though God sent many prophets to announce the coming of the Messiah, these people never got it. And to a great extent, the reason why they did not get it was because the offspring or the Messiah that they had in mind was a completely different kind of Messiah than the one God had promised.
Mumenipoteza. I don't understand.
You see, having been taken captives as slaves and having been attacked many times by their enemies and even had their temple destroyed, what God's people had in mind was that the Messiah was going to be a political leader who was going to come and help them defeat all their enemies, and most importantly, have their temple rebuilt so that they could worship God in there. Yet, The enemy that the Messiah, the promised offspring, was coming to defeat was not going to be the political enemies of his people. He was coming to defeat an even greater enemy, the power of sin that made them keep on disobeying him.